Well, good afternoon, everybody. G Bear out here homesteading the desert on good old lucky Friday the 13th. And it hasn't been such a bad day. I don't know. I hope everybody else had a decent Friday the 13th. I never was one to believe in all of that superstition, so I believe it's a waste of time and brain cells. Anyway, what I'm showing you here on the reason I'm starting here in front of the containers is it really gets hot in here, and until I get windows and ventilation and the false roof all installed on here, which is all going to take time and money, and there's other priorities ahead of that. But I like to leave the doors open to let it air out in there. And you see I have a box fan here, and I have a little squirrel cage fan over there on the bench. I try to move the air around in here as much as possible. But you see the households container over there has the door open also. But last week, in the first time in over 35 years of camping this area and the last 2 years of homesteading this area, I saw my first rattlesnake in this area. And I used to sleep on the ground out here. I've never ever seen any rattlesnakes. But I saw one out here the other day, and it was a Mojave green, just about 3 foot long, had about 7 beads on its rattle. And yeah, I almost stepped on it coming back from the garden house. So I decided I got to start snake proofing things, because I don't want a snake to crawl inside this container or inside that container while the doors are open, and then surprise me later while I walk up to a bench or something and he's coiled up underneath there. So I'm doing some modifications, or I'm planning some modifications here. And as you can see, I got another shelf that I took out of the other container there, and I put some household goods on there and moved some things around inside. But I want to, what I'm going to do, and I'll give you a quick synopsis on this, is just inside, right about at this point here, I'm going to build a wall across here, but it's going to have 2 doors that open up just like these 2 outer doors, and they will be screen doors. And when I say screen, I mean hardware cloth, 1/4-inch hardware cloth, all the way up to the top, all the way down, so I don't have to worry about anything going over the top of it, or I'm not worried about snakes going over the top of it. But that's going to allow me that on these really super hot summer days and nights, I can leave these metal doors open all day and all night long if I've got the screens on here to let the air flow in there, so the heat won't build up inside at all. And I don't have to worry about anything crawling in and sneaking up behind me when I'm working in my office area and doing locks in the back over there, or working in my shop here. Once I get the second half of this cleaned out, I'm kind of concerned right now that there might be something in there, because I leave these doors open all day and sometimes into the night, and I come out here at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night and close the doors. Who's to say something hasn't already crawled inside there? So that's one of the plans in the future, and we're moving on down the line here, and I'll show you what I already did. I also like leaving the door of my electric room open so that it doesn't build up too much heat inside there. I do have fans that run in there all the time on the extra electricity and try to move the air around, and there's a fan running right now. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a fan up there on top of the batteries. There's a fan over there that blows air downward. There's a fan connected just inside of this grate that brings air inward, because this area is shaded most of the day. And it gets pretty hot in there, and I want to keep my electronics down and cooled if I can. Right now we're still at 12.9 volts in the battery banks, so we're okay. It's pretty much close to time to service all the batteries. I've got my battery filler there and an extra gallon of distilled water back there ready. So I want to get that done. But here's my little anti-snake or my anti-slither door. And I took an old piece of piano hinge I had laying around and modified it to make two little hinges. And this plywood is leftover plywood that I had from building the chicken coop. And I did a double rabbet joint on the corners and glued them so they're nice and solid. And then I got my 1/4-inch cloth on there. And this lock here, I haven't a clue what this metal bracket came from, but I have about 6 of them in one of those drawers in the cabinets there. And all I just push that down, I can open up my door and go inside there. And then I can close this back up and pull this down, and it locks that door solid in place, so I don't have to worry about anything pushing the door open. So that being said, this is right where I saw the snake the other night. It was right here, and he was heading to go underneath that box right there. And when I saw him, I stepped back and I yelled at him. I said, you know, I don't mind if you hang around the desert and eat ground squirrels and stuff like that, but I don't like you in my neighborhood, especially Mojave greens. So he never coiled, never rattled at me. Then he started heading off in that direction, going down the driveway. All right, I got some more buckets here I brought up on the last run from my friends J&R. And I still have these over here, which are all the ones that have to get drilled out for the self-watering garden. All right, I wanted to show you also with the rain, total rain out of the 4 days of predicted rain out here, and my barrel went from half full to 3/4 full. So I probably picked up, I don't know, maybe 15 gallons of water. And my little rain gauge up there on top of the light fixture over there showed 1/4 inch of rain. So there wasn't very much that I got here. There was another thread of it today, but all the clouds passed me by. They're overhead, and they're not dropping any rain on me, and they haven't dropped any rain at all day today. And it looks like today is supposed to be the last day of that. That's all clearing out. All right, let's move on down here. And I'm going to show you that the humidity out here has been miserable. It's been 23 to 35% all these days, except when it rains. Of course, it's 100%. All right, I hauled a hose from the cabin down, and I filled up this barrel. So this barrel is topped off, and that's for my watering inside. I don't have the automatic valve on it yet. I have to do it by hand, but I did turn it on. You can see some wet spots in the soil there. So I did water the plants. It is hot and dry. The wind is blowing, and I'm going to get this thing set up, but I have to mention that Jim H., one of my followers, mentioned that maybe I should get this thing set up and just hand water the plants until they get roots set enough so that the self-watering system takes over. Yeah, I could do that, but that's kind of redundant from what I'm trying to do. And right now, all of these are on the drip watering, manual drip watering, and you can see some of the plants over there are drying out because of the extreme heat that we've had. Even if I did that here, I could lose some of the younger plants because of the extreme heat. So I've got to come up with something better than that. I'm thinking about getting another one of these shade cloths and shade the top on this side here. That's a 60% shade cloth. Probably won't make a difference for any problem, so I'm going to give that a shot and see if I can work from there. And then with a little bit more cooling on here and a little blockage to the wind, I've got these shade cloths here. They block a little bit of the wind. This one tore free, and I noticed that I was out of staples for my stapler. Otherwise, I'd put it back down and re-staple it down. And I have about 10 more of those still inside packages, so I can put those up later. But I wanted to cover that from Jim H. Thank you for your comments and your thoughts about possible corrections I could make. I appreciate them. I appreciate everybody's comments. So don't stop. Don't think that just because I said, well, I've already given that some thought, that you're not making a difference. I do take all of these comments into consideration, and sometimes I may not do exactly what you said, but I'll use part of what you said and then adjust it to meet my needs here. All right. As you can see, I got some fresh sprouts popping out of these trees here. The tangerine trees took a real hit from the heat. I got fresh sprouts coming out here on my peach tree, another one down here. So this one might come back again now that the weather is starting to cool off. Carrots doing great. Sunions are definitely ready to harvest. I'm waiting for some of the seeds on the top to be ready so I could just let those drop into the soil when I pull these out and start all over again. My holly oak actually grew about 6 inches. So it liked the heat for some reason. And these also grew about 6 inches. I don't know if it was the heat or the extra water. Back to green again. I got rid of the yellow. And my potatoes are really popping up here. And fresh sprouts on this one. And it looks like I've got some grabbers coming out of my cucumbers here already. And I got some flowers down there. So I'm going to have to do something about putting some type of a trellis on here so those can grab on and climb up. What I might do is I'll put a board up and go all the way to the top and hang it, tie a rope up here onto the top, onto the roof or the ceiling, so that it doesn't tip to one side or the other with the weight, and let them go up those poles. All right, moving on down the line. I've got a lot to cover tonight, so bear with me. That's a bear joke. All right, the girls are happy. They like standing in that little bucket of water and cooling off. But they've already been fed and got another 4 eggs out of there this afternoon. And inside I've got 2.5 dozen, 2 3/4 dozen eggs already stored up. So I'm going to start putting those into the preservation water so I don't have to refrigerate them. They'll all go into a mixture of water and hydrated lime, and then I'll set those into a dark corner somewhere and just let them sit until I'm ready to use them. I could probably go 8 months without refrigeration on them like that. That's how they did it before refrigeration. That's how I'm going to do it. All right, now to cover the last part of this whole thing. Sorry, Arthur, yours is the last part coming up here, but because I've got to do this kind of out here with one hand holding the box because of the wind. All right, here we go. This is the unit that I bought, and I'm going to try to cover every part of this. You can stop the video, hold it at still so you can read all of the parts on here. And we're going to move this around here. This is the wireless unit that, let me see if I can switch sides so you don't have the shadow beating on this. All right, this is the wireless part that I put up on the roof. And that runs on batteries. Apparently the batteries last a long time. And this is the name Accurite. It's a wireless sensor. There's some of the features of it. and go around to the last side here, and we can come on down the line here so you can freeze frame this and read whatever is on there. And it does have the atomic clock and a history chart and self-calibrating, all of that kind of stuff. All right, so I hope that helps you with the information you need on that. I bought this one at Fry's Electronic. Well, actually, I didn't buy it. My friend Bill bought this as a housewarming gift for me. And every time I look at it, I think about my friend Bill. So that's what we have here. And there's the website right there. So if you want to look it up online, you can do that. You might be able to find it on eBay or Amazon. There's the phone number to make a call if you need to. This thing is made in China. So I don't know if I'd call that number, because you might end up on a calling list that will call you back for the rest of your life. All right, Art, I hope that's all you needed. The bottom of the box doesn't really have anything on it. Printed with soy ink. Maybe I can eat that. All right, that's all there is to today's video, people. As you can see, the wind is blowing, the clouds are in the sky. It's warm. It's 98 degrees out here on the porch with low humidity. And that's all there is. G-Bear signing off from another episode of Homesteading the Desert.